2014. Right now, we will begin the program with the invocations done by Mr. Andre Hayes, publicist and VIP talk show co-host.
Good morning, everyone. Please stand. Ask that you bow your heads and close your eyes with me. Dear God, thank you for life and strength today. Thank you for health. Thank you that all the capacities of our bodies are working well. Thank you for democracy. Thank you for the opportunity that we have today to have a discussion with candidates running for office and to make the best decision possible about who can represent us. I ask that you give us wisdom, special insight, temperance, and consideration for each other. Amen.
Thank you, Andre. And now at this time, we're going to have the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag. And if this gentleman right here, you can do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Now, at this time, I would like to introduce the panel members. So if you guys want to raise your hand when I call your name. First, we have Lily Babcock, VP in Hispanics and Politics. Lily?
I'm here, sorry.
Okay.
What do you want me to say about me? Just say hi. Hi. So far,
Next, we have Jameson Ahern, who is in the USMC.
Right here.
All right. Next, we have Ed Cotton, who's retired Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Air Force.
Right here.
All right. Next, we have Karen Stillman, who's VIPI Auxiliary Director. Next, we have Michael Mazur, who's an attorney. Next, we have Mr. George Assad, who's a former municipal court judge. Next, we have William Brown, who's an attorney. Next, we have Stuart Tenner, who's U.S. Navy. And finally, we have Danielle DeBrett, who's a doctor, PhD. All right, thank you, panel members. All right, at this time, we're going to... one more? Okay.
Dr. Richard Hawkins.
Dr. Richard Hawkins, sorry about that. All right, last,
Oh, he was young.
another one, okay. I'm Jim Jonas, I remember you from VIP Radio, co-host. All right, any more people I miss? Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, next we're gonna have, we're gonna introduce, we're not introduce, but we're gonna announce or acknowledge our sponsors, which is Real Water and Little Kitchen here, and Andre Zabroni, I'm sorry. Lago Morsino, I knew it was going to get that. But anyways, thank you guys, and we'll thank our sponsors. All right, at this time, we're going to introduce the guidelines or announce the guidelines for the candidate interview. This is not an interview. Well, excuse me, this is an interview, sorry about that. This is an interview and not a debate. Follow-up questions are not allowed unless for clarity. Each candidate will not answer each question. Candidates are allowed 1.5 minutes to introduce themselves. Panel members are allowed 30 seconds to pose the question. Candidates are allowed 1 minute to answer. Panel members are allowed 1 question. The question may be to one candidate, or the same question can be posed to all candidates if it is a yes or no response question. This is not a forum to air personal grievances. Panel members, please keep your questions generic. And finally, candidates, do not mention other candidates in your responses. Okay? All right. Next, we're going to start the process, or better yet, the interview. And this is the Family Division Department S. And we have Mr. Judge Vincent Ochoa.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. And next we have Mr. Jason Patrick Stoffel. Stoffel. Sorry about that. All right, you guys have 1.5 minutes for bio, if you want to. And with the time, you guys, like I said, you have 1 minute and a half. And who wants to go first? All right, we'll start with Mr. Vincent. All right.
Good morning. Thank you to the Veterans in Politics and their sponsors for this event. I appreciate it. I am Judge Vincent Ochoa. I am your District Court Judge in Department S of Family Court. When I was here last time for an interview, I had 30 years of experience as an attorney. I now have 34 years of experience. I've been on the bench for 4 years. During those 4 years, I've handled 1,250 motions and decided 1,250 motions each year. In addition to that, I've handled 90 to 100 evidentiary hearings and trials. That's each year. I started out with a caseload of 1,000 cases that were given to me when we opened Department S on January 3rd, 2011. I have cut that workload now to less than 500 cases. Before I became a district court judge, I was elected based upon my 30 years of experience, which includes working as a deputy attorney general, representing the citizens of Nevada in abuse and neglect cases, and also in termination of parental rights cases. I've also had a contract with the Clark County representing abuse and neglect cases, and 20 years another contract that I had representing juveniles in juvenile court. And I didn't get these contracts because of political connections. I earned them. In addition to that, the city of Las Vegas has given me also 2 contracts when I was in private practice. One of them was...
Time.
That was quick.
Yes, it was. All right, next we have Mr. Jason Patrick Stoffel. Stoffel.
That's what you remember is Stoffel.
Stoffel. Okay. All right, Mr. Stoffel.
Sure. My name is Attorney Jason Stoffel. Born and raised in Iowa. Went to school in Michigan. Came out to Las Vegas in 2004. Family, 2 veterans, my father and brother. And one of those things, my passion has always been family law. I've done basically 10 years of exclusive family law experience, living and breathing it, just doing as much as I possibly can. My wife's my business partner, Amanda Roberts, over there. Roberts Stoffel Family Law Group, been successful doing this. My passion is to serve. I've done a lot of things in my career that I'm proud of for volunteer experience. I've done a lot of pro bono service. I've been pro bono attorney of the year, small firm attorney of the year. I've worked for 2 different police departments growing up. My background is in law enforcement, criminal justice, and psychology. I do have a CCW. I'm proud of that. I've done the rigorous training. And I'm on a lot of boards. I'm on the executive board of the Clark County Bar Association. I'm on the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada. I do a lot of volunteer work with them. I've been recognized as pro bono attorney of the year, small firm attorney of the year in my office. I'm also on the board of Reno of the Nevada Board of Legal Education. That's important to me. I'm also on several boards with the State Bar of Nevada. One of them I'm probably the most proud of is the Client Security Fund. The Client Security Fund is an organization, is a committee to give out money essentially for basically victims of attorney dishonesty, theft. Last year we gave out over $1 million to basically victims of attorney fraud, theft, and so forth. So I'm proud of that.
All right. Sorry, didn't catch up.
No worries.
All right, now we're gonna begin with panel members. You guys have 30 seconds to pose a question to each candidate, and we're gonna start right here to my right, Mr. George Hassan, and we'll go.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to commend both of you and thank you for participating in public service. It's not easy when you're out there campaigning and putting your life and your family in a fishbowl for everybody to throw spears at you. This is Veterans in Politics, the group concerned with the advancement, the issues, the concerns, and the things that are pertinent to veterans. In that regard, this is to both of you. Let's start with Judge Ochoa. What innovations can you bring or would you like to see changed in family court that are going to address the special issues and concerns of veterans?
Thank you for the question. I think number one, we need to have a closer association with the Veterans Court that exists now in District Court. We need to utilize that and have the ability to use that court. Right now, it's limited to criminal cases and individuals with misdemeanors and nonviolent offenses. But we see the same problem in family court. We see the psychological problems. We see the drinking problems. We impulse control, and we need to address those issues by using those specialty courts as well. And we have courts for criminals, specialty courts for criminals. I do not know why we cannot create specialty courts for families. We need to find the money so we can address the same issues that are addressed with the criminals when they come in before me on a family issue.
Time. Next question?
He
Sure.
can answer this.
I think one of the other things is my second pro bono case I've ever taken back in 2004, 2005 was someone up at Nellis Air Force Base. And I think a lot of veterans and active military don't know about programs such as the Legal Aid Center in Southern Nevada. When I saw their leave earnings statement and I saw, wow, that's what they make, they qualify for pro bono service, they got the case done. And essentially the opposing party in that one was all about he might be deployed, he might do this, might do that, therefore I should get custody. And I was looking at it, and 125C-100 was not on the books yet to help veterans and active service the men and women to prevent them from losing custody just on the possibility of deployment.
Time. Thank you. Next panel member.
This one's for Mr. Stoffel.
Sure.
This is Richard Hawkins. Typically, historically, in this county, challenges to sitting judges have been unsuccessful unless there was a problem, in which case the bar usually lines up behind a candidate. Are you running because you think you're the better candidate, or are you running to address a problem in the department?
Both. I think a lot of what I bring to the table is the commitment to serve. One of the things I do on Friday mornings is every Friday, 3 hours, 8 to 11. I'm a truancy diversion judge at Ward Middle School. This is my 5th year in that program doing that. It's important to give back, and you can talk the talk, but you walk the walk. That's the most important thing. And I think the other thing is, without doing any personal attacks, is as of the October 15th Veterans in Politics show, after Mr. Ochoa was on the show, I decided that's the department I'm going to run.
Thank you. Next question?
Okay, this one is specifically for Judge Ochoa. You know, the last couple days that I've been sitting here, I've heard a lot from judges about how they've reduced caseload, they're more efficient, and how they handle cases. One of the things that concerns me specifically as a family court judge is there's really no cookie cutter approach to the law when you get to family court. So what specifically are you doing? I'm just a little concerned, Judge, that maybe you're a little more focused on efficiency and not hearing everything that's involved in the case.
Well, that's not correct. One of the reasons we have reduced our workload is we have more judges. Since 2008, we have added 7 judges to the family court. When families come before me, I read everything. My law clerk reads everything. I read what the law clerk writes. I listen to the argument. And I try to get the litigants not to focus on the problem. I have read what the problem is. I try to get the attorneys and the litigants to focus on the future, to focus on a solution to the problems. I take whatever time is necessary. Many times, one side is upset because I'm providing the other side some time to prove themselves. And we cannot rush these cases, especially when there's a young child. I focus on doing what's in the best interest of the child. I treat every litigant as if they were my son or if they were my daughter. And I provide whatever time is necessary to hear the case.
Thank you. Next question?
I guess same question for both candidates. Beginning with you, Judge. Thank you both for being here, by the way. Well, Judge, if you had to put your finger on one thing that you believe is the largest hindrance, the largest impediment to fair, efficient adjudication of family matters. I'm talking about the court system in general. It could be a law, it could be a procedure, it could be a form. If you could if you had a magic wand and you could change one thing, what thing would that be to make family court dispositions more fair and more efficient?
Number one, we start off with the fact that we're in family court, which means litigation. Parents do not want litigation. They do not want expenses. They want a resolution of their marriage. They want a divorce. So we need to get away from litigation as much as possible. Try to have the individuals work out their own problems. Go to mediation, go to settlement judges. We have a new program that's only 1 year old where we have attorneys, experienced attorneys working for free that will hear both sides and try to work the parties to reach their own solution to their problems. I do not think people wake up in the morning and say, I want to hire a divorce attorney. They wake up in the morning saying, I want to get divorced, maybe, without expenses, and that's what I concentrate. Try to move the case, yes. Do not cause litigation. Get a solution to the problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is this mic's off?
I'm not hearing.
Okay. My voice loud enough? Can everyone hear? Sure.
Is that mic? Try that mic.
That one's off too. This one's
This one over there.
This one's better. Good. All right. To dovetail off of what Judge Ochoa just said, I do the mediation. That's where it's all at. There's a couple things that he said that I can build on. I'm one of those volunteer settlement attorneys that volunteers their time as needed.
Just saying.
Still on. So I'm one of those attorneys that do volunteer their time. I'm also one of the past presidents of the Mediators of Southern Nevada. That's important to go ahead and, you're right, no one wants to wake up and say, I want to hire a divorce attorney. I want to, the gloves come off, if you will. Nobody wants to do that. I was also employed by ULV in the pilot program for mediation, where I would supervise law students to work out asset debt issues. And that's helpful to me. It also minimizes your caseload. People, if they can agree on what they can work out, excellent. It's a judge's job to determine on the merits what they can't work out. And so mediation, I'm a big advocate of that.
All right, thank you. Next question?
As a family physician, my only association with family court and stuff goes back a long time ago when a child that was abused was sent back to the home, and I pronounced the child DOA 3 months later when he was accidentally run over by the family car. According to the National Survey of Child and Adolescent Well-Being in July of 2011, 60% of the children under 8.5 years that are sent back to an abusive parent will have accelerated abuse. This is to both of you. Do you or will you consider this fact when you deal with who gets custody of a child?
This is Judge Ochoa. I have over 15 years of handling abuse and neglect cases. I also did that as a Deputy Attorney General representing citizens in Nevada. I've seen enough pictures of children who allegedly fell off a counter or somehow their ankle got broken because they were twisted playing. And my number one concern is to protect the children. I will take that fact into consideration. I take a lot of facts into consideration. We just need to help these individuals, or if they cannot be helped, then we need to protect the children and take them away from the abusive situation.
A lot of it starts with the CPS referrals. CPS is there for a reason. As mandatory reporters, attorneys have to do things in order to bring it to the attention. A lot of judges, they look at a one-size-fits-all, cookie-cutter approach to a lot of things, such as abuse and neglect. It's something that it's never going to go away, but to realize the cycle of violence, of abuse, it's there. It's a horrible thing. Sometimes the ones that get away are the ones that make the RJ paper, and I think judges have the duty to go ahead and protect the children. 125-480 is there for a reason, and it's there. We have to be aware with the education, and that's one of the things I do is I go to all the education conferences as I can. I'm the 10 year in a row E-League conference attendee, the Family Law Convention, and every year I get better. So this is something I'll continue to do if elected to serve in Department S.
Thank you. Next question?
Is it on? Yeah, it is. The best interest of the children, how do you understand it and how do you apply it in your court or maybe your future court?
This is Judge Ochoa. I bring my life experience to these questions. I have 4 children. They're grown, 2 boys, 2 girls. I have 3 grandchildren. I know what a happy child is. And that's what I'm trying to provide. I'm trying to get the parents, sometimes they're so concentrated on hating the other side that they're hating their own children indirectly. And I try to bring that to them. I take the time to address them and say, you need to focus on your child. I know you hate the other person, but your child is learning that his dad is a bad dad through you, or his mom's a bad mom. He will always love his mom, he always love his dad. So that's the first. Secondly, if they do not listen, then we need to reduce the time they have with that parent if that parent is bad. I believe that the best parent for a child is both parents until they prove me wrong, until there's enough evidence that I need to reduce the time with this parent.
I think a lot of times is children need to be heard, and a guardian ad litem, they're available. You can appoint them. A lot of people do volunteer their time. I know our office, Amanda does volunteer as well to serve as a guardian ad litem, to be a voice for the children. Other avenues available is the mediation center, FMC, Family Mediation Center. They do have very low cost to do child interviews. Those reports get written down by a neutral person, get sent back to the judge so we can figure out what's best for the child. Maybe the child can articulate what happens at mom's time or dad's time. So, you know, if a judge doesn't see a judge or see one of the children, how do they necessarily know what is best? The factors 125, 480 set forth the standard, but children need to be heard. Whether it's a child interview, a guardian ad, they need a voice, and that's what I bring to the table.
Next question?
Good afternoon, Michael Mazer from a local attorney here. I hear quite a few cases throughout the family law division that are high conflict cases. What type of changes or modifications to the procedures do you see that could be made that will allow them to streamline through with less conflict? That's to both.
One of the things is the appointment of parental coordinators. I've done the training. I went down to Atlanta in 2012 to be a parental coordinator, and I can do that volunteer through the court. I've already been approved by the courts to do that. It's basically essentially a glorified babysitter, essentially, where a judge can hear a report from like a NRCP 53 hearing master, essentially, that's appointed for the case to really, you know, siphon down some of the issues to figure out what's what. So we're not having motions. Johnny wants a haircut, Susie wants a mohawk, Susie wants red hair. I mean, whatever the case is, these are ways we can do something and deal with certain things, have a report, and a judge can rule accordingly. That's about having an efficient calendar. I don't want to have a haircut issue for 1 hour in any given morning. It should be siphoned out where appropriate.
Number one, I address the attorneys. Sometimes the attorneys are the ones that are uncivil in my courtroom. Since day one, I make sure that the attorneys are addressing their clients' problems in court and in the pleadings and not their own issues with the other attorney. I do use parenting coordinators, but first, I like to set the ground rules. So I take 6 months with the case so the parties know where I'm at. And so when I appoint a parenting coordinator, they can read the pleadings and know where I'm at. As far as interviewing the children, after my election, before I became a judge, there was about a 2-month period. I went down to family mediation and participated in watching mediation. And they will tell you that of all the judges that are on the bench, I was the only one that did that. And I'm at the RJC, I'm not at family court, but when there's an important interview with a child, I will go down there and watch the interview through a 2-way glass so I can get my own unbiased view of what the child says. And these cases are sometimes high litigation. You can't believe that I have to decide what kind of haircut a child has to have because the parents are fighting or the stepmother's fighting about a haircut. I mean, those are the kind of issues that I do not think should come to family court. And then those are the kind of issues eventually I would, after I give them a good talking to, send them to parenting coordinators. If they want to continue to waste their money on haircuts and issues like that, then they can go ahead and do that. But they shouldn't be tying your money up in family court.
All right. Next question, Mrs. Lily Backup.
This is for both of you guys. Oh, the girl, it is on, right?
Push the button up.
She's on.
Okay, sorry.
All right, with the growing Latino population, how do you address those that have language barrier and also have the cultural difference?
Number one, I am Hispanic. I grew up in Michigan. I do speak Spanish. A lot of these Hispanics were my clients when I practiced law. So I'm already sensitive to some of the issues, but I treat them the same as anybody else. The only difference is they have to pay for a court interpreter. They have to bring their court interpreter. Obviously, they want to speak to me in Spanish because they know I speak Spanish, but we need to have a clean record. We need to be fair to every side. And we live in America. Every case is the same, whether you're Hispanic, Jewish, Catholic, or Mormon.
I agree with everything you said. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people aren't aware that interpreter service is available. I'd like to see the Pro Bono Project be more aware of that greater need and to have that availability. And perhaps one of those things is a flyer or something when a complaint or an answer is filed, to understand that when you go to court, one's not going to be provided for you. Come in there with the information necessary so that they can go through. Because I've had cases where I don't speak Spanish. I do have a gal in my office that does speak Spanish, so that's how we communicate. But then we arrange to interpreter service. When we do go to family court, they do have a voice with an interpreter. So just basically informing people, options are available. There's nothing worse than going in there and not understanding what's happening because you don't understand the language.
Thank you, Mr. Stoffel. We're going to have the next question by panel member.
Good morning, both of you. Thank you for coming. I'm interested, as many military travel worldwide, what experience do each of you have with family law as it applies internationally? And speak a little bit about what you know about international family law and international cases.
Number one, as far as the military and veterans, I don't have a problem because they're going to be controlled by the military. So if they want to go and they have a good case and they want to go to Japan with their child and they're better suited than the other person, I don't have a problem because I know I will get that child back if there's problems in Japan. The military will solve the problems and what they would assist the court. Now, any other country, I double, triple check before I permit anyone to leave the United States with a child. Because they may come back, but it's going to be a very expensive process. It doesn't matter what country you're talking about, even Canada. It's not going to be easy getting the child back. We can't even get child back from Utah without major expenses. So I'm very careful before I permit a child to leave the country.
Most cases don't always come before us, but when the military has a family plan in place, I want to see that documentation. If somebody does decide to up and leave, I want to see that before it happens. I don't want to say, I don't want to punish a parent because if they get military orders to go to Korea or overseas, to say you're being punished, the child must stay behind because you're military. Every case is different. I want to look at the statutory factors. I want to know, what bond do they have with the child? That's what the statutory authority is for, 125-480. So every case is different. It is a case-by-case basis. Some parents are much more involved than others, but be that as it may, I will read every pleading as I see it, review it, and there will be hearings for everything. You file a motion, you will have a hearing.
Thank you, candidates, and unfortunately, by time, that was the last question. So if we could, let's have a round of applause for the candidates.